welcome to another episode of Simply Be, Simply Me podcast with your host, me, Nakeisha Smith. So, I don't know how long I'm going to have this smile on my face because we are discussing today mental health. And I have a special guest here with me to discuss this important topic. Hopefully, we get through it with no tears, but I'm not sure. But we have some tissue here just in case we need it. But I want to welcome my special guest. Take it away.
My name is Molly Bauer, and I am a coach. A coach is a partner, basically, that helps facilitate change in your life. And I work with people who feel like they've lost their spark, who feel like life is boring, and who, feel dead inside. Is that too serious to say?
You went straight for it.
I went straight for it. People who feel like, that life isn't bright enough. And I help them find the fun. I love laughter. I am not afraid of big emotions. If the tears happen today, it's probably going to be me. And so Molly Bauer Coaching, I just started my business recently and I'm excited about it. I'm excited to be having this conversation today.
All right. So I want to set the tone to have everyone understand how we came together.
Yeah.
Actually, you can share how we know each other, and I will then share how this came together. So,
okay.
All right. So
okay.
You can tell the people.
So I met Nakeisha through a friend who had who she had helped find his house when my husband and I were house shopping. And so when was that? That was like spring of 2021 or 20. I think it was 21.
Gonna go with whatever date you say because I don't remember.
It was spring of 21 because that was a wild year.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
it was a wild year.
It was spring of 21. And we purchased our house at the end of May. But like we had the best time.
We really did.
We had the best time. Like that year was one of the most stressful years in my recent life.
Okay.
But that, like, seeing houses with you and like laughing and having a good time with you is like the bright spot of that whole year. Honestly, it was like a horrible year in so many ways. But my husband and I often talk about you and just how much fun we had. So, yeah.
Well, I try to make the home buying process fun. It's already stressful enough.
Yes.
So I am always laughing. I want to bring joy.
Yeah.
I want to just have a good time and not take things too seriously. So we literally used to laugh all the time. By the way, we went out to probably see, I would say over 10 homes together. Maybe
more than that. I feel like we went 3 weekends. Yeah, maybe a little more than 10, but yes.
Yeah. And each weekend was an adventure with fun, laughs, and everything else in between. So, okay. So that's how we are connected, and how we recently became connected on this topic. I was updating all of my past clients on my new telephone number and providing them with my new business email. And I reached out to Molly and her husband to let them know, here's my new number, here's my new business email address if you guys need anything. And I said, did I see something recently that you started a coaching thing? And she said, yes. And I wish I actually had my phone because I would actually read exactly what you said. And she sent me the link. And when I went to the link and I read the intro of her page, excuse me, it just automatically, I felt that it was important for us to connect. And I explained to her why, and I wanted to know if we could have a conversation over the phone. And I shared some things with her, and then she shared some things with me. And one of the things that I shared is that, mental health is something that I am passionate about, and it's something that's really important to me because I have three children, 2 sons and a daughter. And one of my sons, at some point in his life, went through a really heavy moment of depression, anxiety, and what falls under mental health. And it was a hard time for him, but it was also really a hard time for me as a parent. Um, I have this saying that you can't put a band-aid on mental health. And for me, the reason why I say you can't put a band-aid on mental health is because when I think of when my children were little and they would fall and they would get a little boo-boo and they would look to their parents, especially mom most of the time, to help them, to comfort them, to ease whatever pain that they are in that moment. And most of the time it's something small. You get a little Band-Aid and you put it over the little boo-boo and you give them a hug and they're happy. And it's just an easy process. With anxiety and depression and seeing one of your children suffer from it, you can't put a Band-Aid on that. And there used to be moments where I would have given anything to ensure that all of my children at any point that they may be going through a difficult time in their lives, that I would give anything to take away what they were feeling or to take away what my son was feeling at that time. And because it's something that was so personal and close to me, I then started to do research on it. I started to understand that, and it may sound crazy what I'm about to say, but only individuals who have suffered with depression, anxiety, will understand what I'm about to say. If someone says something as simple as I took a shower today, I know it's going to be a good day. And not in the sense of, oh, I took a shower like everyone takes showers, but no, that's it's painful when you are going through depression and anxiety and all of those things to sometimes even take a shower or to even brush your teeth or to even get out of bed. And I learned those things just from studying and trying to understand, because although I couldn't necessarily take away what my son was going through, but I wanted to be able to find resources to help or understand better. So when he is explaining something to me, I'm not in a space where I feel like, well, I don't know what you mean. What do you mean? It's painful to take a shower or to brush your teeth. And I know we touched on that. And I want you to share your story, because once I shared that with you based off of reading your intro, you then shared something with me, which I think is important. And then we'll just take it from there. But I made it without crying so far. All right.
Which thing did I share with you that are you referring to?
Well,
because I
know you shared a lot.
I could share so many things.
I want you to discuss your own personal experience that you feel comfortable with sharing, whether it's depression, anxiety, and all of those things.
Okay. Yeah. So I remember distinctly experiencing depression as young as 12 years old. And I remember that because I remember like reading books and like going to my dad. My dad's a pastor, retired pastor. He had an amazing library. And I remember like going and like finding books on depression and like reading them at 12 years old and writing papers for school on them. And I remember at some point my dad coming to me and saying like, hey, like, are you curious about this? Because you feel this way. And so, yeah, as early as 12, I don't know that I was diagnosed until like way later, but yeah, a lifetime. I mean, I don't really remember a time, a period of time where I didn't feel depressed, until very recently.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, as a kid, I remember happy times from my childhood. I don't remember like real young childhood. I don't remember being a, you know, Wednesday from the Addams Family. I don't remember being like, you know, real dark as a real little kid, but yeah, it's been a lifetime that I've lived with this cloud. My therapist described it as like your depression coming to the foreground or going to the background is kind of the experience of it, which I totally relate to and agree with. That's been my experience. I mean, that's one of the things about mental illness is that your experience of it is yours alone. And so while it's helpful to share, yeah, I will just say that like my experience is mine. And so that's all I can really speak to. But yeah, that coming to the foreground and the background is really, I think, a good descriptor of how it's felt for me. The cloud kind of comes in and then fades away, and I can like, you know, hear the noise of it. But yeah. And then recently, maybe in the last like 5 to 7 years, I was diagnosed with adult ADHD.
Okay.
And so I can look back and see where that maybe was part of my childhood experience too. But when I was young, they really only diagnosed boys with ADHD. Like hyperactive boys had ADHD, but girls who would get like lost in their own mind, like we're just precarious, like quirky girls, you know? So I can see some of it, but I don't know how much it really held me back. But it was the therapist I've worked with most recently. We were talking about some issues I was having where I was just feeling foggy all the time. And I was describing different things to her. And she was like, do you think maybe you have ADHD? Like she just kind of brought it up as a curious thing. And I was like, no, like that's crazy. No. And then time went by and I was like, I'm just kind of curious about this. So I'm doing some research and stuff. And I'm sitting on the couch with Gregory and I was like, Gregory, I'm pretty sure I have ADHD. And he was like, I'm pretty sure you need to apologize to your therapist. So yeah, so that's my most recent sort of newer mental health journey, has been learning more about ADHD and how that's affected me. And learning how to manage it, what works best for me. But yeah, I've had this sort of lifetime living with this monster. And at some point I remember also deciding I need to learn how to exist with this thing because it's never going to go away. Like it's not a thing that I can like will out of existence or, like make go away somehow. So I need to learn how to live with it. And I feel like that benefited me a lot, in different ways, but recently, I think it's been maybe like a year-ish. My therapist said I'm basically in remission is how she described it. I think it's just the right it's the right combination of stuff. I don't think there's like a magic, it says this on my website. There's no magic formula. I don't think there is, but
I would agree with that.
But I think somehow I'm at a point in my life where I've got the right combo. I've got the right combination of meds. I have therapy that I've been through. I have the right support system that I need right now. I don't know, the right hormones in my body. I don't know what all the combo is, but I'm like overjoyed to be in a place in my life right now where I can say that depression isn't like in the background or the foreground or anywhere. Like it's gone right now. I never thought that would be a thing. Like I never, ever thought that I would feel happy. I just always believed that this monster would be part of my everyday. So it's like wild. It's funny to like be teary now. My last appointment with my therapist, are like closure for now kind of thing of like, call me if you need me, but if you don't need me, that's great. I remember being so teary, and it was just so much joy. Like joy that I never thought I would feel. So yeah, I think that's the recap of my story. I'm sure I'll think of more things. But.
Well, I am overjoyed to know that you are in a space where you feel joy now. But being honest, it saddens me to know that you feel that it has taken you so long to get to this space. So as we have this conversation, I don't want you to feel that because we are going to just have authentic conversation.
Yeah, totally.
And I don't want you to feel that if there are certain questions that that I present to you, I don't want you to feel that you have to relive anything.
Oh, nope. Ask me anything.
So it's a couple of things that you said that I want to, stay on topic with in reference to having the right combination now, because I realize that everyone is different. Men, women, no matter your walk of life, depression is depression. Anxiety is anxiety. Mental health is mental health. But your experience of anxiety, depression, and mental health is different for everyone. And each person requires a different level of combination. Some individuals need just strong support systems plus medication. Some people just need medication. And even the medication is, from my understanding, trial and error, because you may start out on something that doesn't work, or you may need to have two things combined together. In addition to therapy and in addition to support. And it could take years to get the right combo together for you to feel at a space where you are now. But during the process of you getting there, what do you feel like your darkest time was? And was it triggered by something? Was it just life? Because sometimes I feel that, again, based on studying, based on research that I have done on my own, and I've been studying this for a long time now, and I'm not an expert at all. It's just, I just wanted to study things so I could just better understand not only my son, but just people in general from a human perspective who may be going through this and suffering in silence. I know that sometimes life can trigger a depression, what I call episode. And sometimes it could be past trauma that could trigger an emotion or whatever. So what was your darkest moment?
There have been a few times in my life where I wouldn't be able to recall like a triggering moment or a circumstantial thing. But I just remember there have been seasons where my depression was worse, where I felt just like utterly hopeless, where getting up every morning just feels like drudgery, like peeling yourself out of bed. I tend to isolate when I'm not feeling good. So that in turn makes you feel isolated. Crazy how that works. And so then, so in those periods too, I just remember feeling like no one understands me, no one cares about me, all those kind of thoughts. But as far as circumstantial times, there have been a few big transitions in my life. And those have always seemed to bring on extra depression for me. So I moved here from Pennsylvania for a very great reason, for Gregory, for my husband. And that's ended up being like a wonderful thing in my life. I love him so much. But that move was really hard. Like I moved in May. I don't remember the first summer I was here. Like I just don't remember it. I know I cried a lot, but so that was a hard time, sort of a dark period in my memory. It just kind of doesn't exist. Most recently, I think, the year we bought our house was just a wild year of a lot of transitions. We moved. We had the whole experience of buying our house, which had like bright points and really stressful points.
Mm-hmm.
And then, and we were coming out of 2020, which was like huge transition and crazy for literally everyone.
Mm-hmm.
The world. I went up to Pennsylvania for a month to hang with my sister and her kids. Like coming out of the pandemic that summer, I felt like I really wanted to be there for her and for the kids, like just to have a bright spot and to give her some assistance for
Mm-hmm.
kids out of school in the summer. And so I went up there for a month, and the day I got back, 4 hours later, we had to put our cat down. Like I came home, I was like so looking forward to like home and Gregory and Tibbs. And Gregory came out of the house to say hello to me, gave me a big hug. I'd been gone for like a whole month. And I walked in, and maybe it was in the driveway that he said to me, like, Tibbs isn't okay. Something happened and he's not okay. And so, long story short, we like got right back in the car. Like we unloaded all my junk and got back in the car. And 4 hours later, we were saying goodbye. So that, for people who are not pet people.
Oh no, I'm a pet person.
It doesn't make a lot of sense. But for people who are pet people,
I get it.
It's such a huge loss to lose a pet, because they are part of your sort of like emotional support. They offer you all kinds of things that you don't get from humans. And they're part of your daily routine in such a way that you don't really realize until they're gone. So we had to say goodbye to Tibbs. And then a few weeks later, I just had a huge transition stuff at my work. And so that none of the work stuff I think would have caused a depression spell, but it was just like an added combination of things. And so during this like already dark period of like losing Tibbs, then I just went into like even more transition at work. We moved our office at work. So there was just a higher stress. It's interesting how things that you would just consider like maybe middle grade to like high grade stress, suddenly when they're like combined with grief, it's like this whole other ball game.
I'm happy you're saying that though, because I feel that people, again, who don't understand depression, anxiety, and mental health, that normal everyday activities for someone who doesn't suffer from that, when you go through something minor that may make us frustrated, for someone who is going through depression, it's a different feeling. It's almost like, I don't want to say like everything is spiraling, but it almost feels that way if I'm explaining it correctly. So it could be something as simple as maybe getting cut off on your way here. And I may be annoyed, but for you, because you already had a rough morning, a rough time, that could make you spiral.
Right. Yeah.
And it sounds silly, or I have a golden doodle and I have not lost a pet, but I have to tell you, that's all, it's in the back of my mind often that, okay, at some point, like I know he's not going to live forever. And I know it's going to not only impact me, but it's going to impact my family. My whole entire family loves him. It's going to even impact some people who love him when I post him on social media. But I understand how it has already impacted me and it hasn't happened yet. And I don't suffer from anxiety or depression or mental health. And when I say I don't suffer, there's moments in my life where I've have battled with depression, such as when my mom passed away. That was a tough time because that was part of grief. So, but I understand that moments in your life can seem more difficult than the average person because of it. And I guess I guess I have an extra level of sympathy and compassion for people. And I'm always cautious on, I love to treat people kind in general, but even extra kind, because I'm always nervous and cautious that I could be unkind to someone who is battling mental health and depression. And my unkindness could lead them to maybe feeling like this is the end for me.
Mm.
And I know that may sound dramatic, but it's true. So with that being said, I want to touch on, when did you get counseling? What led you to get counseling? And then, have you ever had a moment where you were suicidal or had suicidal thoughts? So feel free to answer the question however you feel. And if it's something that, again, you don't feel comfortable with, let me know and we can skip over it.
Yeah. So I'm trying to remember what, I think my most recent years of therapy, I'm trying to remember what like initially prompted me to find a therapist. And I think it was just, I moved here in 2007, and I had been seeing a therapist through college. And when I moved, I
have a question for you. Did your parents know you were seeing a therapist in college? When did you? Okay, so I'm just gonna say it how I need to say it, because I like to be as transparent and authentic as possible. And this may actually spark, usually behind the scenes, people to say things. In the Black community, growing up, there was no, you go see a therapist. There was no, I'm sad. There was no, I'm depressed. There was no, I have anxiety. If you said something like that, and Secret Agent 1, 2, and 3, I'm saying this to you because you guys are all Black. If you even alluded to something was wrong with you, it was you were crazy, or just go to, it was like dismissed in a way where nothing is wrong with you. You just need some sleep, or you just go eat, or you just trying to say you're depressed because you don't want to go clean your room, or you don't want to do something. It was just never a real thing. No one really took anyone in the Black community, at least growing up for me, if we ever said, I'm sad, we ever said I'm depressed, or we possibly were feeling things and we couldn't even articulate what we were feeling. And if we tried to, we would be dismissed, or you may have been afraid because they would quickly put you in, oh, you need to go to the loony bin or crazy. Like literally, that's what I experienced. And I don't know if it's just me. I'm going to say Secret Agent number 3 over here, because the look on your face, and I don't know if you have a mic on you, if you could respond, but why do you have the look that you have on your face?
Really, it's because, I mean, you're speaking to a point of contention that I think is relevant to all of us, because it was a matter of we couldn't afford to actually give you the help you need, or we have so many, like, past just your mental health, we got to worry about how we're gonna pay these bills. Past just that, we have to worry about keeping you alive in situations that other communities don't have to deal with. So yeah, we understand you're sad, but we have more important things to focus on. And not only that, there's a million things that are going on in your head, but there's a million things going on in the other kids in this house as well. and we just don't have the capacity to handle it all. So it's something that I think affects a lot of us in in our community in a multitude of different ways that we're just now getting to a place where we can unpack.
When I just tell you, everything you just said is so deep on so many levels, because you're right. Growing up where I was raised, especially for Black men, but young men, we were thankful that they made it to see another day, that they weren't either dead or in jail, or we didn't grow up in a space where we had lots of money. So you're right. We need to figure out how we're going to eat, how we're going to pay bills, how we're going to keep the lights on. Because I mean, I've had moments where growing up, we did not have lights. Like the lights were shut off and we were doing homework in the hallway because we lived in an apartment complex, and that was the only light that we had in the hallway apartment complex to do homework. So our parents couldn't, even if they wanted to, take on my child looks sad or my child feels a certain way, or they, let alone they probably went through their own set of trauma, depression, sadness, and it just was never spoken about. And then we all grew up. And now we start to realize, wait, no, something is not right. How do we fix this? What do we do? We don't even know where to go. Do we tell our parents now in our adult age, hey, I think something is wrong. I think I need to speak to someone. So Secret Agent 2, go ahead.
I just wanted to share that. So from my perspective, my parents are multicultural Afro-Latino. They were born and raised in Cologne, in Panama. And what we realized too is my sister dealt with mental health issues, but my mom thought that's something you could just pray. Like you could just pray through it. Oh, you need to go to church. We're going to pray for you. And I do agree that, prayer helps, but like you also have to do the work. Like she needs to go see somebody. She needs to go talk. And it wasn't until my sister had an actual breakdown at school where she was working at, and just said, she said it out loud that she didn't want to be here anymore. And when you do that at school, like they have to report it. And then that's when everybody looked at it seriously and like, okay, we need to help her. But if they would have listened to my sister, when she was 15, 16, 17, showing the same behavior, we could have probably got her help earlier. And now, she has to change careers and she had to move and just start all over, for us to really realize that, okay, maybe she does need to go seek help. And maybe that's something we should invest in. And, instead of making excuses and just saying, oh, we're just going to pray for her. She just, she just talks to herself too much, or she just, it's just something internally wrong with her. But now she needs help. So I feel like a lot of people in our culture go that route. Like, oh, there's nothing wrong with you. You just need to go to church.
That is very, very, very accurate, because don't get me wrong, I will say in 2.5 seconds, you need to pray about any situation. However, I do think for mental health, it's deeper than just praying. Praying is part of the elements of the medication, the support system, the therapy, and all of those things. Now, the reason why I wanted to touch on the getting counseling or getting help for you, were your parents aware? You said yes. And was it hard for you to speak to your parents about it? And at what point did they say, okay, we think you need help, or we think you need to speak to a counselor, or did you bring that to them? Because I want to show the difference in also, again, the Black community versus the white community, where we look at it differently, but we all need to look at it the same.
Mm-hmm.
So,
my dad has a doctorate of ministry in pastoral counseling. So that's a privilege beyond privilege of having a dad who believes in the power of this thing that could help me, like very specifically, like he studied it and has a doctorate in it. So, so I started from a place where in the context of my family, this is a thing that's not just accepted, but encouraged, that you would go get someone's help. But as far as whether I felt comfortable, like going to them and explaining how I felt, I think part of the reason why I went and read books and wrote papers and stuff was because I didn't feel comfortable saying out loud, like, I don't know why I'm alive. I don't know why I exist. I wish I didn't exist. Like, there was no, that felt like too much, too heavy. But I remember feeling that way at 12 years old, like feeling like, so this ties into a question you had a few minutes ago. I've maybe only had one brief moment period in my life where I had any suicidal thoughts that I would call actively suicidal thoughts versus passively suicidal thoughts. Passively suicidal thoughts are like, I wish I didn't wake up tomorrow. It would be better if I didn't exist. These sort of passive things. You don't have any intention or active thought of like, if I was going to do this, this is how I would do it. It's more just a passive. That's why that term exists. So at 12, that's what I remember feeling like. Like it would just be better if I wasn't here. And so then as I got older, specifically that period in college, I'm trying to remember, but I had a pretty intense breakup. And I think that's what prompted my going to find a therapist. And I may have lost sight of your question, but I just remember sort of asking for resources. Like, do you know who I should even go talk to? Like, because my dad had a connection with, I feel like a counseling center that was connected to a local seminary or something. And honestly, I don't even remember how I ended up with the therapist that I ended up with, but she was amazing. But yeah, in the context of my dad's studies, once it became known that this was like a real need that I had, not just a hormonal girl thing or not just a circumstantial thing, the context was already, what's a good word? Like set, like incubating.
with your dad being in this space of being a pastor in the counseling space of it, was he okay and receptive to you taking medicine? He was okay with that.
Yeah. My dad always used the analogy of like glasses. Like he's like, if you can't see, like you go and you get glasses and then you can see. And he always made that analogy, that's what antidepressant medication is like. It doesn't solve it for you, but it lifts the cloud so that you actually can look at the stuff of like what it is that you're believing. So depression causes you to like think a certain way and feel a certain way. And so you end up with these like thought patterns that are habitual in your brain. And, science shows that our brain is neuroplastic. So like we can carve new pathways in our brain. But with depression, it's like, these are just like the ruts I have in my brain of how I think and feel. And so the medication, lifts the cloud. I love that analogy. So that in therapy or in your own, search, your reading, your exercise, all these other modalities of help, those things actually can work. I don't think everyone needs medication. I don't think every depressed person needs medication.
I would agree with that.
Therapy has been therapy for mild to moderate depression has been shown to be just as effective as medication. But I do think some people really would benefit from medication. It's your depression glasses.
I actually like that analogy. Secret agent too. I don't even know where secret agent too went. I have a question for you. When you were speaking about your sister and now she needed help later on, which I'm assuming that means medication. How did your parents feel about her actually being on medication? Because I also feel that, again, in the Black community versus the white community, I can't speak for other races, but I'm from those two, it's just different, even from one getting help. But now you go to speak to a counselor and now they're putting you on medication. Again, I feel like it's a negative thing, stigma that we put on ourselves in the Black community. And I'm just curious as to what did your family?
My mom felt, I don't want to say ashamed is not the word, but she just felt like she took it personal. More so like I felt like they put the weight on them. Like, what did I do wrong to where my daughter has to take medication to be quote unquote normal? Right. So she took it more personal, which honestly put a larger weight on our family, because then my daughter started to lash out more because she's like, now you're making it personal when you already, put so much on me growing up, and you're still making it about yourself and not letting me just heal. So having taken the medication, I felt like it wasn't something my mom wanted for her. She still continued to push. No, she doesn't need that. She needs to.
Really, even after she was had the breakdown, diagnosed with something, and they're saying, no, she needs medication. Your mom is still like, no, she doesn't need medication.
Mom's saying no, but at that point, my sister was grown. So she knew she needed help. So she took it anyways. And that's what caused her, when I said earlier, why she moved away. She felt like she had to get away from everyone.
I understand that, because hearing you say that, it sounds crazy to me. And I just used the word crazy, but it doesn't make sense to me logically that someone has a breakdown. You see it. Mm-hmm. Someone tells you something is wrong with them. They're telling you something is wrong with them, and medication is needed. It may not be forever, because some people will need depression or whatever medication, but it could be a short term or long term. It's okay. But if the medication is going to help that individual have a better quality of life, a normal life, and not have to feel that cloud that you even express, Molly, that is over your head, why would we want to stop that? Or I don't even.
Yeah, I mean, I can go deeper into that, but
I feel like I don't know. I'm just going to speak for myself. I would rather know that my child is on medication and in a better space and not feeling sad, depressed, crying, not waking up, feeling what you just expressed about I don't want to feel this anymore. So it would be better to just not wake up the next day. I don't want my children to feel that. So if they have to take medication, they have to take medication, even if it's for a short period of time. And also for myself, there used to be moments where I would be in a meeting, multiple meetings, and I would feel like I was holding my breath, wondering if someone was going to call me to tell me that my child was no longer here. So why would any parent not want their child to get help? I just don't understand it. Yeah. I don't understand it. We could probably have 10,000 episodes on this topic. We have to stop with this whole whatever it is that we're doing to people, the younger generation. I don't know if it's the Gen Z. There's a generation that is social media dictates a lot of how they feel because they think social media validates their lives and them as individuals. You have middle schoolers going through stuff. We have to stop. There shouldn't be a space where we are denying people or making people feel bad or less than because they need help, because they need medication. There shouldn't be a world where last week I'm on my prayer meditation group 6:45 in the morning and someone is saying, hey, can you pray for my neighbor because their 13-year-old daughter just committed suicide? That's there shouldn't be a world where we have these type of things. There shouldn't be a world where the statistics, especially for men, and not to dismiss women, but men have the higher rate of suicide. I don't understand it, and I think I'm more passionate about it because of having my own personal experience with my children. But there's an element of me that makes me feel angry in any culture, but especially the Black culture, that we want to deny people things to make them better. Like I can't even to hear my son have a week where he's laughing and he's happy is more, that brings me joy versus the moments where he's so sad and so like I don't know. I know I'm probably getting off topic a little bit, but I just don't understand it. And I just wish we just did better as people and listen to each other and not judge someone for saying I need help. It shouldn't be I'm reaching out to someone in my industry to just check on them. Hey, how are you doing in the world of real estate? Like, I'm just checking on you just to say hi. And their response to me is, I'm having a rough time. And I was just having some suicidal thoughts. And you reaching out to me, help me. And this is someone that I see often. Like, I would have never known because we live in secret about it. That's the other piece. You and I, we were together multiple times, laughing and joking, and I never knew that you were even suffering or dealing with anything, because I still feel that even as we get older, there's a level of you feel shame or embarrassment. And I just wish we as a people, my prayer is that as a people together, we just stop with the whole denial and making people feel less than because of not having a good day or dealing with depression or whatever it may be. So I'm sorry everyone for getting emotional, but I said we needed tissue. Thank you.
I feel like in our society we have expectations that we have an expectation that everyone is happy. And that is the standard, that's the norm, that's the the expectation. And so anyone who presents something other than that, we're given a choice of, do I accept this as their reality, or do I fight against it as if this can't possibly be true? Do I believe this person when they say their experience to me, or do I put my own stuff on them? And I think we have a choice of allowing them to, if we do acknowledge their reality, I think we also have a choice of like, what's next after that? Do we meet them where they are? Or do we try to push them back into happiness or whatever space makes us comfortable? You know, like, can we live with the discomfort place? Or do we quickly try to move people back to a place that feels more comfortable? Yeah. And I think for people that have experienced some form of depression, it's a lot easier to live with the discomfort because in other people, because you've lived with it yourself, you know? That's why, and I said this to you when we talked on the phone, but I just admire you so much for your response to your son's experience being like, well, let me go research this so I can understand. Because that's like believing him that what he's telling you is real for him. That's not taking it personally as if it's something you did or like a failure as a mom, or like you didn't do any of that. You went and in your actions, maybe that was part of I would understand that being part of your experience of like the processing emotions. I think one of the other things I said to you on the phone was, it's gotta be, I'm not a human mom. I'm a fur mom, but, it's gotta be a hard, I always say like people can be two things at once. And it's gotta be hard to live with, this person you gave life to, struggling with life as like on a principal level. Like I just, to be in that position of like holding these two things as true, and to have your ultimate behavioral response be like, let me go research and understand, is just like beyond honorable. That's an amazing action to take.
Well, thank
in
you.
spite of maybe all the feeling stuff of it.
Thank you. And I appreciate you saying that. And it definitely it was something that was really, really hard for me to do. It was something that I would say secretly, because no one really knew how I really, really felt about what he was going through. But there were two things that I realized in this situation. I actually voiced it before anyone else in my family did, because, and I don't know if it's because I'm a mom, but I felt something was wrong. I felt something was off. And I remember saying, no, something is not right. And everyone around me, including my son, not really listening to what I was saying, because I just felt it. I just felt something is not right. And we need to address this sooner than later. And it wasn't until I gave him almost an ultimatum, because there was an episode that was happening. And I was like, you either have two options. You either get on this flight that I'm booking you on, or I'm coming to get you. And that's when from there, we started to put things into place, to help him. But even during that time, there were moments where I am going through life and amazing, great things are happening for me at the same time that I am dealing with this excruciating pain, because I'm also in excruciating pain, because again, you would do anything for your children to not see them hurting. And there really honestly was nothing that I can do from a medical perspective. And I realized that as I was going through it with him, but it was tough for me. And I think the moments that got me through it, outside of course, prayer, conversations with my husband. But I also remember one day going to church. It was our women's church service. And the pastor, we had a guest pastor that day. And earlier that day, I was having a tough time. Like, it was a really, really rough day, and I wasn't going to go. And my husband was like, you should go, and I was like, I just don't feel up to it. I just didn't have the energy. And he was like, no, you should go. And I went, and the guest pastor was there, and she started to speak about different things she was going through in her life. She had one son who was incarcerated. She had another son who was an alcoholic. Her mom died when she was 24 from cancer. And she had just had these 2 new babies. And she was like, I'm carrying these babies, one on my hip, one is wrapped around my leg. And we are walking through the house and my sweet little babies. And now fast forward, I would have never thought years later that my 2 babies that were wrapped around me, one would be incarcerated. And I would have to decide, are we going to spend Christmas to visit him in the county jail he was in? Or do I take my other son to a rehab center to help him? Because if he doesn't get help, he's going to die. And all of these other things that she was listing that was going on in her life, but you would never know.
Mm-hmm.
And the one thing I never forget that she said to me, which I do already, but I didn't realize it was something that I was doing, that we all go through a space in life, and especially for individuals who are believers of Christ, that you as women will have moments in your life where you have to carry joy and sorrow simultaneously, and you have to do it with strength and grace, and you still have to give God praise, because you can't praise him when things are good but still not feel he's great, and praise him when things are not going so good. And you're going to need him even more, because to carry joy and sorrow at the same time, it's a tough thing to carry. In addition to that, for me, learning about or studying more about like mental health, depression, and anxiety, I now, which sometimes it drives me crazy, I can sense people who are not doing well, even if they don't tell me. I can, I hear certain things that someone may say to me, or it could be all of us in this room, and Secret Agent 2 may say something to Secret Agent 3, and Secret Agent 3 just takes it so generic, but I may hear what Secret Agent 2, I love how you're laughing behind the scenes. I will be able to say, hey, are you okay? Because of something he said that someone else will take generic. I know, no. Like now I know if someone says, which this has really happened, someone saying on a social media platform in their stories one time, I want you guys to know I'm okay because I took a shower today, which led me to tell someone else they're not okay. And the other person was like, what do you mean? I was like, you don't just say that if you are not battling and dealing with something, and they actually were dealing with something, or noticing that someone is extra quiet, or someone is like, no, I want to eat lunch by myself, and they're normally not like that. So I'm able to just sense and pick up on something is a little off today. So I typically check on people. Sometimes God will wake me up out of my sleep and be like, make sure tomorrow you call, text such and such, and it never fails when I reach out to those individuals. They're going through something. So everything happens for a reason. So it's a blessing to be able to help others in that space, even if it's just for a moment, or to pull them out of it. But to get to the space where I am now, it's been tough. It's been tough, but I'm grateful to say that my son, to your point, he's doing well. And to see him happy and joyful and excited about life. And I think people look at depression and, like you said, like it's people think when you're depressed, you don't function.
Mm. Mm.
And that's not the case. Some of the most functional people are the most depressed people. Some of the most functional people have the most heaviest burdens and clouds over them. And now I can say that for my son, he is in the same space where you are now, where that cloud is not there anymore. But it takes time. I want to have you tell the people how old you are, for two reasons. One, because we discussed earlier that I think your hair color will make people think you're older than you really are. And also to prove a point of the age you said you started to feel depressed. And now only the last year you finally feel happiness. To give people an idea of how long someone could be suffering with depression and anxiety and any type of mental health issues, and that it takes time, but you do get to a space where you do feel good and you do feel happy. So how old are you?
I'm 38. Yeah. I have my grandmother's beautiful white hair. Yeah, do you want me to talk about my hair?
You don't have to. You don't have to. But I want to say from 12 to 37, you felt like you had this dark cloud.
Yeah.
And that's a long time.
To speak to your point about being like basically functional depression, or I would even say like high functioning. Yeah, you don't know because by someone's function or their appearance, how they're really doing necessarily, because yeah, you can like have a good time and be laughing and genuinely enjoying yourself and have depression.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's not a, what is the word I'm looking for? It's not like, it's not something you will away.
Or pray away.
Or
such
pray
as
away. Or
Secret Agent 2 said his parents
yeah, there's
were
no
doing.
like, it's not just like a personality flaw or like a feeling. It's a condition.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, there are times where people are circumstantially depressed, especially during grief.
Mm-hmm.
Like you were talking about
Mm-hmm.
when your mom passed. Like grief can definitely cause depression. And so there's circumstantial depression and there's clinical diagnosed cyclical depression.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, there's high functioning. So I definitely had periods of my life where I was more high functioning and less. But yeah, it's funny that you mentioned this stuff about like showering and hygiene, because that is one thing that between my ADHD and the depression, lately it's more ADHD based, but like showering is a whole activity. Gregory can tell you this, that like is a struggle. It is a struggle zone, especially with the ADHD. Showering involves so many transitions, which are really hard for people with ADHD. Mm-hmm. And so I won't super get into it, but yeah, it's just a struggle. And so when you have depression, with ADHD or without, it's just a task that any care that you're making for yourself just is hard.
It's hard. It's really hard.
So yeah, when you see people either, I've joked with some friends who've struggled with depression too, that like on days when your makeup is just a little extra, sometimes those are the days when you're like the most depressed because you're in the mirror like, let me fix it, you know?
Oh, really?
Yeah. But then there are also days where it's like, I just can't, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so you look at somebody on either extreme of appearance and you just don't know their experience.
You don't know.
It could be me on a Saturday and I just don't feel like doing my makeup and I'm in my sweatpants and I feel great,
mm-hmm.
but I just didn't do anything. Or it could be me on a Saturday and I'm feeling awful mm-hmm. and I haven't showered and I haven't taken care of myself. And it's because I can't today.
Because you physically can't. And that was such an eye opener for me. And then once I started to do my own research and study, it was so many people saying yes. Like people were experiencing depression and going to take a shower and they are just crying because it's so painful for them. And I just have so much respect, even more so, for people battling any type of anxiety, depression, or mental health, because you are battling something that it's almost like you're screaming on the inside. You're I don't even know. I don't know, but I just commend you. I appreciate you for even having this conversation and speaking about it, and shining a light on, yes, have been depressed for years. It's okay to talk about it. It's okay to get help. It's okay to get therapy. It's okay to be on medication, and you can come out on the other side of depression. And I pray that this episode sheds light to other people who may be suffering and going through something, to let them know that they're not alone. So before we wrap up, typically I do a Q&A, and I'm not going to do a Q&A this time. I want to know if you have one piece of advice that you would give someone battling mental health or depression, what would it be?
One piece of advice.
It's okay.
Keep going. Yeah, keep going.
I think that is excellent advice. And the one piece of advice that I will share, definitely keep going. But I'm going to share from the perspective of, again, outside of the loss of someone passing away, I don't know what it's like to suffer from mental illness, anxiety, or depression. So my advice would be for others who have never experienced it and they never suffered from it, is really try to be kinder to people, because you never know what someone is going through. Offer someone a hug if they look, like they're not themselves, or just simply call someone and check on them. And the saying of check on your strong friends is a real thing.
Yeah.
Be more open-minded and don't judge things you don't understand. Don't judge someone who could be battling with something and they don't even know what to do with it. So just be kind. And to the parents who have children who are battling or have battled with mental health, be kind to yourself, because it is something sometimes that you feel like it's my fault, or what could I have done differently, when in reality, it's really not your fault. There could be some childhood stuff that could play a part, but the reality of it is, and you said it, sometimes it's just clinically how your brain is wired. And there's nothing that any parent could do because it's out of their control. So be kind and patient with yourself as well. But I, again, appreciate you, and I'm thankful that you kept going. I'm thankful that you are now also a resource for people who are going through this. I know we discussed the reason you decided to, get certified is because you want to be able to help others not go through or suffer as long as you have. You want to be a resource for them. And I want you to share again, what you do, your website, your contact information, and we will also share that as well. So
I just feel like there's hope. There's hope. And so people don't need to be okay. It's okay to not be okay. And there's hope, there's change, there is growth. And there are resources. I mean, not just me, there are resources, and you're right, no one is alone. So I specifically love laughter and fun and creativity. That's kind of my jam. But just generally, I'm here to help people sort of assess where they're at and be able to like look forward at where they want to be and then carve a path from here to there. So my website is mollybauercoaching.com.
Mm-hmm.
My little baby website is the way I like to say it right now. I've just been, making it on my own. I updated it since you saw it. Like,
right,
every now and then I
out.
go and tweak it a little bit, but, I'm just getting started. So it's, it's evolving, but it is out there. And I'm on Instagram, Molly Bauer Coaching. And that's BOWER.
Okay.
But yeah.
I love
excited.
that. And I feel like what you are doing now and what you're offering is what I live by. I live by the saying of try to live your day every day by being a blessing to others. And what you're doing now, you are being a blessing to others. And even if it's just one person or 10 individuals, you are being a blessing. And that's what it's all about in life. And again, I appreciate you. And I'm just grateful and thankful. And again, this is another situation where I started real estate thinking it was just going to be, hey, I'm going to help people buy homes. And then, ta-da, it turned into this right here.
Yes.
So this is when I know I'm on the right path of what God called for my life and my purpose. And it's only going to continue to show up in this way where we are united now beyond real estate, beyond house shopping. We are connected now through this space that we share, even though it's from totally two different lenses, but we still share this space and we're connected. So I thank you. I appreciate you and I'm grateful for you. And thank you all for tuning into this emotional episode. But I think it's something that's important for us to continue to speak about and shed light on mental health in all areas, all age groups. Speak to your children, see how they're feeling from as early as 9, 10, and 11 years of age. I think if we start to reach out to individuals and we can possibly help save more lives if we talk more about it. We can change the number of individuals who decide that they don't want to keep going and they want to give up. If we just take more time to reach out to people, we definitely can save more lives. So I appreciate you all. Continue to like, subscribe, and share the Simply Be, Simply Me podcast and continue to be a blessing to others. So thank you. Bye.